Let me just start with a tune and we'll see. I want to see how the audio is going to work with this. There was a setting in Substack that they called wide spectrum. We'll see how wide that is. Let's see. Okay, here's my most controversial song, and I'm having trouble remembering the whole thing. Have you heard this one, Lily? It's about that guy south of us.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
He's creating such a ruckus.
That guy, Voldemort.
Some people won't even say his name, eh? Like Whoopi Goldberg.
I'd rather not.
Never said his name.
Certainly not his title either.
Are you hearing this guitar?
I am.
All right. He's got a fine first family. Everybody toes the line. They only speak with his permission, and everything is always fine. He's a bit misogynistic, but women love him anyway. They're not bothered by his scandals and lies. They're all acclimatized, and they've got their marching orders, and they're loyal to a fault. Now he's got his press secretary, presidential liaison. She'll answer all your questions. She knows what's going on. She's got the ear of the leader at his side the whole day long. She promised she would never tell a lie. She smiled and looked us in the eye, but she's got her marching orders, and she's loyal to a fault. Now this would be the time for a solo. This was a good test to see if the sync works on this, and it's not quite synced. Last verse. How does it go now? Well, if you praise him to the heavens, he will listen to your lies. But you can kiss your job goodbye. He's got an army of generals. The Supreme Court will always take his side. He's got 50 million in his tribe, and they got their marching orders, and they're loyal to a fault. I think it was 77 million the last time they counted, but I'm figuring it must be. I'm sure some people have bailed. They're not so loyal anymore. This goes all out to my friends down south. Don't put me on the blacklist. I might still want to come to the States someday.
Okay.
So you were hearing the guitar there? All right. Well, this is, and you can see I'm pretty far from the mic. And
we've got some spectators too, and Allison's watching from Van Cleef. So.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I didn't do, there was an option to email everybody and I didn't, but hi Alice. I wonder if spectators can even make a comment or something. This is all pretty new to me. Anyway, I feel like I'm sitting on your head, Lily. I don't know if it looks like that. Because I look, are you seeing the two of us? Yeah.
You're the neighbor upstairs.
Well, Lily and I go way back almost to the time I first arrived in Toronto, and we played together in different configurations. And at one point I had my backup band, the Blainettes. That was the golden days. And the fellow that shot that video of us in that little park up on the Danforth, that might be 20 years ago or something.
It was Toronto Jazz Festival.
Yeah. And I told him this morning that that was that is the most watched of all my YouTubes, you know. I think it might be 5 figures of views, which is a lot for me. It's insignificant in the YouTube verse, but it's the most that I got from anything, but it's been there the longest too.
I think
The
that day it rained off and on, remember? And we had to keep covering and uncovering our gear, and we played and then we had to stop, and we played and we had to stop.
Well, it looked pretty nice on the video. I don't know, but maybe we caught a set
Yeah.
that where
Or
it
maybe
wasn't
I'm
raining.
mixing it up with another Brian Blain gig.
Well, we did other rainy
We did other
gigs.
ones.
We had some rainy ones. So, I was thinking about Hamilton as I watched that little thing that was happening this afternoon, and there's so much music going on in Hamilton. And
Yeah.
you're in Dundas, and even Dundas, as a kind of a corner of Hamilton, is also a very music friendly place, isn't it?
It really is. Yeah.
They have the Dundas Music Club where I went and played one time, and you
Yeah.
play all the time, right?
Yeah, I
And
try to get there every month. Yeah.
I seem to recall when Hamilton became kind of a destination for musicians that couldn't afford to live in Toronto anymore. So they moved to Hamilton, but now they can't afford to live in Hamilton, right? Where are they going now?
Well,
Belleville, you know.
it is getting to that point. I do know some people who are now being bumped into more rural areas around here, further afield from Hamilton. But
Mm-hmm.
we're still getting that crop of Toronto people. I just met some people last week, a record producer, and a couple of songwriters that are, kind of a going concern, and they just moved here. I guess, but then now it's maybe they're bumping out the people who just can't make it. It's tough.
And one venue, the Casbah, closed, right? But there are there enough venues to support the
Well,
musicians,
it's
or
it's funny you mentioned the Casbah because I literally just an hour ago bumped into Brody Schwendeman, who was the owner of the Casbah, and predictably he's doing something else. He's booking, I think it's called the Bright Room or something, and it's part of the Staircase Theater. So he's already doing something there. I'm not quite clear on what his format is going to be there, but there's things opening up. There's another venue coming to Dundas, and I right next to the Thirsty Cactus. There's a big old building, and it's going to be like a serious music venue. But I keep hearing that,
oh,
and it's been talked about for a long time. But I don't know if it's permits or what it is that's holding them up. But the rumors around town are that there's something coming.
and it'll be like a soft cedar, probably a theater.
Maybe that or like a big
Yeah.
restaurant type of
Uh-huh.
I don't know exactly what's going on there.
Well, I lived in Hamilton, from 67 to 70. And I was working at the ad agency there. I think there was probably only one ad agency in Hamilton, but they were big. There was maybe 50 employees. And some of the clients were like Firestone and Hoover and Electron, all people that had, that were around that area, I guess. And I ended up, because I don't know why, but I was invited by the YMCA. They had a coffee house in Burlington, and they wanted, I guess, a little bit of supervision. And, I wasn't much older than the kids that were hanging out at the coffee house. I was maybe 19, 20 then. And I became the adult in the room, the adult advisor. And, and I got to hang out in this coffee house. And I don't know that I ever got I don't know that I ever did a gig there. I might have gone with my guitar a few times, but I was mostly there to supervise, make sure the kids didn't do any bad stuff and no fights or anything. And that was a time. I remember like Neil Young's girlfriend came and did a gig there. I can't remember her name right now, but she was a Toronto legend. Murray McLaughlin, that's the first time I saw him, and he did his whole Murray's Mountain thing, which was a big, long expose. And what's his name? Stan Rogers when he had hair, and and it wasn't even just Stan Rogers. It was Stan and Nigel. It was a duo, and Nigel played the licks, and Stan sang loud and proud, like he became legendary about, you know. And
Did you ever go to the Night 2 coffee house?
well,
That or
no, I got a feeling there might have even been a little rivalry going on because I was hanging out in a coffee house called Katimovic, and I don't think it was on Lock Street. Maybe it was one street over or something, but it was this couple, Jay and Dorothy. They were old hippies. Well, you'd have to call them beatniks, you know, because they had been doing it since the 50s. But they opened this coffee house, and Jackie Washington, I remember, played there. And they would have sometimes touring artists coming through, and they were a lovely couple, and they were great to me. And I hung out there, but once again, I don't know that I ever did a gig per se. You know, I don't have a poster, Brian Blain at Katimovic, and everybody
pictures
remembers.
or it didn't happen.
Yeah, well, you know, everybody remembers the night too, but nobody I ever run into yet remembers a place called Katimovic. Maybe it lasted only those 2 or 3 years that I was around, and then in fact, I know that they moved away. They moved to Stratford, but they had a great scene there, and but I never got into the blues scene. I suppose somewhere down the road in Hamilton there was at least one blues bar, but I never discovered it. And that's my pre-blues days, really. You know, I mean, there I was, right next to a legend, uh, King Biscuit Boy. And I didn't even know who he was. You know, I could have bumped into him on the street and I wouldn't know who he was. And I remember Jay and Dorothy saying, like, one time, well, this is later in the 70s when I would come around to Hamilton once in a while and visit. And they said, you know, there's this kid we know, and he's got a studio. He's setting up a studio in his mother's basement.
Uh,
And we told him about you, you know, that you had produced a record for Columbia Records, blah blah blah. And so we figured we'd go over, and I, you know, was idiot. It was Daniel Lanois, if I didn't mention already, who had a studio in his mother's basement,
yeah.
who was then 17 years old or something, and he was probably already making records with Raffi or whatever. But in any case, I knew I was only in Hamilton for a day, and I wanted to visit my friends. And I went, maybe not. And so I never got to connect with Daniel Lanois. That would have been life altering, eh? If he said, Brian Blain, sing me a couple of your tunes, sir. Let's see what you got. There's a fabulous hour and a half interview with Daniel Lanois that just got posted. And it is a marvel. And he starts off, they say, well, play us a little something on the pedal steel. And he just goes off and he plays like for 20 minutes, just a whole ambient thing with the music swirling. And the guy is brilliant, you know, and like they say so often, you know, it's one thing to be a brilliant musician, but you know, if you get that combined with a brilliant human being, you know, a nice person and all, that is a nice package, you know. And the thing I noticed about Daniel Lanois was at one of these conferences, actually, it's the same one that's happening right now in Toronto. It used to be called Canadian Music Week. Now it's called Departure. And there's all kinds of live music going on. They got 40 venues going in town, and but I hardly recognize any of those artists. You know, those are not names that come onto my radar. But I remember he was the keynote speaker or something, and it was in a big room, and it was full of people listening to what he had to say, and he played a little bit. And then it was over, and the room was being cleared. It was cleared out pretty much, but I think I was at the back of the room, and I was on my phone doing something or other. And finally, I realized, well, the room was all cleared out except for maybe a line of 10, 20 people that wanted to meet Daniel. And he was sitting at a table by the stage, and he was having a nice visit with all of them one at a time, and he was, being very hospitable. I think, to the consternation of the organizers, who were probably trying to get everybody out of there for the next thing. But anyway, he wasn't going to leave until everybody that wanted to talk to him had a chance to say hello. I remember stuff like that more than the music. Sometimes. Yeah.
Well, we meet a lot of dicks in the industry, to be frank. We do. So it's
Yeah,
kind of nice when they stand out as nice people. I find I
indeed,
appreciate that.
indeed. So you're going to meet some new people on Sunday that you haven't met. Uh, one of them is Brian Morgan, and he's been around the scene for a long time. And I was surprised to see he's a very accomplished academic, probably PhD or something. I don't know. I shouldn't say that without confirmation, but anyway, he is also somebody who was around all the time, playing fiddle. And anytime I went to a folk type jam, Free Times Cafe or something, he would be there and he would sit in on the fiddle and but he also plays bass, and I think he'll be bringing a bass on Sunday.
Is he going to bring his fiddle too, though?
I hope so. Yeah.
Okay.
And I've written a tune about a famous fiddler called Graham Townsend. I wouldn't attempt it without the lyrics, but it's the whole story of the Townsend family, which is I call the song the tragedy of the Townsends, because Graham and his wife Eleanor were both fiddle champs. They both had all the trophies. There's something about that culture of old time fiddlers where they have contests, and I guess it's like cutting contests, like in the old days of jazz, maybe. But they were the top echelon of that group of old time fiddlers. And he died, and like 3 weeks later, she died in a tragic fire with her granddaughter cradled in her arms, and so it was a sad, sad story. Both their kids ended up dying tragically, suicide, whatever and it's almost like that family had a curse on them. But they made beautiful music for the time they were here on this planet.
Hey, Brian,
Jigs.
I'm really sad now.
Oh, did I make you sad?
Sad now
What can I
as I
say to
laugh.
cheer you up? So, we were talking about I'm going to be making an appearance at the Toronto Blues Society birthday party, the 40th birthday party for the TBS. And I just saw a Facebook post that came up, and they don't mention me, but that's all right. I'm coming anyway. I'm an addendum, I guess, or whatever.
You're the
Or
secret weapon.
I'm already, yes, surprised guess. Anyway, I'm toying with the idea, and instead of going and singing a couple of blues songs, that I would give these folks a preview of my upcoming musical. And this would be the first time any kind of public performance of it at all. I don't know how that would go with the blues fans, but I don't care, because I know a lot of those folks, and I'm sure they would want to support me. And Substack is how I kind of gained a few supporters. With Substack, you're new to Substack, right? So I hope maybe you will get encouraged to make a post and be part of this community, because it was created as a long form. It was like the opposite of Twitter. This was for people that wanted to write a big, long essay about that guy down south or something else, politics or music. And it was one musicologist that got me involved in it. His name is Ted Gioia. Ever heard that name? Ted Gioia? If you Google that guy knows so much about music. I think he's a player too, but less so. but he writes big, long articles and, New York Times and that kind of thing. Anyway, I got into the Substack, and with Substack, you can have your subscribers. They sign up like you just did for free. And then you can have a paid subscriber level where they actually pay a monthly fee and for that, usually they get extra perks, So some of these writers would say, well, actually, what would happen is you'd start reading something and then it would stop. And then say, if you want to see the rest, become a paid subscriber, and that was a bit of an arm twist. But in my case, I use the paid level for people that are interested in following my adventures trying to create this musical, and it's called the Magic Pick, and it's based on a tune that I recorded in 1973. It actually came out, but it never got to the charts or anything, and it was a kind of a novelty song. But at the time, I guess I was in a writing mode, and I just wrote up a whole bunch of other songs that all had all kind of that same whiny theme about I'm a poor musician, and nobody wants to hear my songs and blah blah blah. And anyway, I now have revived it. This is my legacy project. Before I go down for good, I'm going to have this musical out there, and maybe 50 years after I've died, it'll be discovered, and maybe my grandkids, if I ever get one, uh, talking to you, Joel, then they would inherit some royalties or whatever. But it has a lot. Like last night, I worked on it. I created a whole new scenario. I switched around the order of songs. I tried to make it a little more sense out of it. Starts off with a song where our guy, he's a young guitar player, can't get any respect. He's playing in a cover band and he's kind of very conflicted. He wants to be doing his original music, but the cover band, as we know, pays much better than trying to go and do original music. And then, well, I can't read this without my glasses, but there's a whole bunch more songs. The wise old producer shows up with the magic pick, and now he is going to use this young fellow as a guinea pig, I guess, to see, because the magic pick takes whatever you're playing and just adds a whole new dimension to it. I think it'll be a lot to do with it'll make a light show perhaps or something. I'm thinking immersive. Nowadays, Joel used to call it the wow factor. You got to have the wow factor, Dad. You know, and I'm thinking, well, the music is the music. This is what's coming out of me. I can't wow that up, but visuals. To be able to add some visuals, and that's part of the idea. But let me just, I got a notification that says my battery is going to run out. I wonder, we'll find out what happens if your iPad dies, before you can shut it off. But if I go away, folks, we'll see you Sunday. I'm going to be here with Lily, Brian. We're going to have Joffrey. He's a fabulous, he's a musicologist, a real and genuine anthropologist, and he writes a lot of historical stuff. I
And
wonder if
Doug Smith is joining us.
Doug is coming, who I met like once or twice maybe, but I don't know that I'd
He's
recognize Doug Smith.
one of a small handful of the very best audio engineers in the Hamilton area.
Oh,
He
well,
mixes at all the Sonic Onion venues,
okay.
Sonic Hall in Guelph, and the Mills Hardware venue. And he was the guy at This Ain't Hollywood for 10 years doing
Well,
sound. But he plays guitar and he's a great friend.
great, fabulous. And Rick Levinston,
Rick Levinston.
I wonder, that might be,
I think he logged on. I thought I saw his name come up.
he's
He was
not,
here.
he's not a real social media. Really, you saw him
I
popped
think
up
he
there.
signed on.
Oh,
Yeah.
how would he? Really?
I don't know.
Hey, Rick, if you're there,
Yeah.
I can't see the iPad from here. Does it actually tell you how many
I'm
people
just
are?
seeing whatever the last yeah, it says Frederick Levinston joined. I think his real name might be
Hey, that's him, Rick.
yeah,
We'll see you
yeah.
Sunday.
And
And
Eckhart from Hello from Victoria, and someone named Jewel, and D.O. I'm thinking maybe that's Don Oakey
oh,
from Nanaimo, maybe.
how about that? Oh, well, if he was in town, he'd be here too, wouldn't he?
For sure he
But
would.
I'm going to be doing these things through the summer, and we will mostly do it in the backyard. But it's still a little chilly, so we're going to be in the kitchen on Sunday, 8 p.m. Watch for it. And let me. Here's one of the tunes from the musical. This is the big duet between the wife who was they broke up. She's a wild and crazy gal, and he loves her, but he doesn't think he can live with her. And they do this tune. She starts it off. I should have listened close to what my mama said to me, but I was young and foolish. I was only sweet 16. Well, it didn't take long for me to see that what old Ma said was right. If you marry a musician, you'll make a wreck out of your life. If you marry a musician, he joins in. You're in store for a surprise. And the surprises keep on coming right up till the day he dies. You can give him comfort while you can, but don't become his wife. If you marry a musician, you'll make her. And he interrupts. I'd like to interrupt you now to say a word or two, because things are very different from the musician's point of view. I hope you don't see nothing wrong with having fun and getting high. If you marry a musician, you may be wrecked all of your life. If you marry a musician, you're in store for a surprise. I'm trying to the phone, and the surprises keep on coming, but right up till the day he dies. You can give him comfort while you can, but don't become his wife. If you marry a musician, you'll make a wreck. You'll make a wreck. And this is where we have to get theatrical a bit. You know, you'll make a wreck out of your life.
Bravo.
And then she's saying, "Oh, I think this is not going to work out, Brian. I've got to think about this." And he goes, "Please, baby, don't make up your mind. Just give our love a bit more time. I love you, yes I do. There'll never be anyone but you. Please, baby, wait while I explain. Before you take that morning train. With the mean engineer, he's gonna take you away from here. Please, baby, don't make up your mind." Segue into something else. What else? What do you think, Lily? You think the blues crowd would accept these tunes?
Yeah, I think they're
I mean,
topical.
I hear I got one. I don't care who I step on my way down. You think I'm happy when you see me smile. I bet you wouldn't think that if you knew me a while. No one's ever loved me, and not even my wife. I have been a very lonely fellow all of my life. But now I'm tough as nails, babe, and I've been around, and I don't care who I step on my way down.
Oh, that's a great one.
You like the groove there? Picture this. These songs are 50 years old. I wrote these in 73, 74, and I went on SOCAN website just yesterday because, well, Gary Kendall is going to be running for the board of directors of SOCAN. So I went up there and I went to give my support and vote for Gary. And while I was up there, I wanted to see like if I got any royalties due to me or anything. What a joke. And, no statements available. All right, never mind. But I was seeing all of these songs because I registered them at the time. And there was a couple that went to 75, 76, but some were right from 73. And what else? Maybe let's see if I can find one more that might fit with this. And, next time, maybe we would try with your piano, but Substack, I don't think will allow us to play together. Even with that little hand clapping thing, no, you could see it's not working.
Oh, really?
But there are programs that are, how would you say, they prioritized for that, Jam Kazam is one. Yeah. And I've done that one with a few friends.
Well, luckily, I'm going to sneak in another plug for you. Luckily, we'll be there together in person on Sunday. That's what we're plugging today is the Mother's Day
you bet
jam on Sunday. So it'll sound great with everybody really there in person.
You bet. Here's some wise advice that comes from the producer is now, he's sort of half guru, half mad inventor. I kind of picture Rick Rubin. Do you know who Rick Rubin is?
Are you talking to me or to the whole audience?
I'm talking just to you right now.
I don't know.
Well, Rick Rubin is a legendary producer, but he's also kind of a guru. He looks like a guru with the hair out to here, and he's always barefoot. And so he was going to have some words of wisdom. And he sings, when our hero is complaining, I don't, nobody, everybody's putting me down, because I'm not a serious musician or whatever. And he says to him, you can worry about what people say. You can sit around feeling bad all day. Protect yourself, don't let it bring you down. What those folks say about you when you're not around. It might be objective, it might be profound, but you don't want to worry about it. Just ignore it. Don't pay any attention to that crazy sound. Well, the whole world is full of talking fools. He's talking to them about me, he's talking to her about you, and everybody's talking about, I got that all mixed up. I ain't the kind that likes to sit and rap. And I know when it's time to shut my trap. And this is me shutting my trap. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Looks like the battery didn't die yet. I still see Lily up there. How about that? We'll see you Sunday night.
See you Sunday night. I thought it was at 7. Now it's 8.
No, at 7 we'll be running over the tunes. And at 8 we'll go live. That's my plan. It's never works out. But. Good night, everybody.
See ya.
Bye. How do you turn it off?
Yeah, it is a good question.
Write a message. Well, no
I think
message.
there's an X at the top. There we go. And bye-bye.
I didn't see no X. But look at that. We got 10 eyeballs. Thank you for checking in, folks. Allison's there. And Allison wrote. Great. Ah, thank you. Alrighty. How did we get out of here? End. I see end. Well,